today we are launching our faith literacy, and Joe from Transform UK, Joe is one of our associates, so he can be parachuted into any Christian workplace group or professional group and to help you think about faith literacy and how you can engage with HR to run a faith literacy course. But I don't want to steal your thunder, okay. Which I generally do. But anyway, so Joe, thank you so much, first of all, for taking the time to write this course. But tell us, what is the purpose of this course? What is faith literacy?
Thank you. Yes, well, I mean, part of the purpose of this course is because there's only one of me, so we thought we'd do a recording of me so that even if I'm busy, I can still parachute into a workplace near you, but I'm also happy to chat to you.
Great.
The point of this course, I mean, we've got, Transport UK does sometimes get approaches from HR professionals who are looking for resources around faith literacy, specifically to do with Christianity, and they're asking Transport UK if we were aware of any resources. And I mean, when I was looking for resources about faith literacy online, I particularly looked on like YouTube, for example. I couldn't find very many. If there were they were a little bit theological or a little bit academic, or maybe they just talked about what Christians believe, but they didn't really deal with issues to do with faith literacy as they related to the workplace. You don't often have a discussion about the Trinity at work, so you need a sort of different sort of thing. And so it's to deal with those kind of practical aspects, I think, of how we can help to have more conversations about religion and belief in the workplace, and to have some kind of neutral, as far as you can, sort of informative and helpful resources that we can use. So
good. So in a nutshell, what is the objective of this faith literacy course?
Well, I suppose there's a couple of objectives. I mean, the objective is to have something very workplace friendly that doesn't annoy anyone, doesn't get people into trouble when you run it, and is helpful and informative. I think partly that's about just so that Christians can be themselves at work. So if you're going around being salty in the workplace, what are the things that you can find make you feel unwelcome? Now, sometimes that might be things that people are doing unwittingly, just because of ignorance or not thinking about things. And I think also it's just helpful to have something to kind of get people more interested in talking to you about religion and belief. People can feel a bit nervous about what's the right question to ask. I don't really know kind of how to deal with what comes back. Or they might not understand why you don't want to engage on an issue in the workplace. Sometimes you have an answer, but it's just too difficult to explain it in the workplace. So we wanted something that would just help to raise the general level of faith literacy. And the courses that I've done deal with two particular things that I perceive in the workplace. Obviously, I'm quite old now, so I've seen a lot of stuff. I'm also aware of.
Not old, are you, Jeff?
I'm fairly old. I've seen lots of stuff happening in the wider culture. So the sorts of things people assume about Christians and Christianity, can we have some resources to educate them about those things so they don't jump to conclusions that are not warranted, and that helps them be more faith literate, but also helps it to be a nicer experience for Christians to go to work and have more helpful conversations with people.
Great. So this is like a brand new course, and so how many times have you run it?
It's a sort of mini series, I suppose. It's a mini series that you could turn into a bigger series, so you could get other people to tack stuff on the end and make it a bit longer.
What do you mean by tack stuff on the end?
Well, in the series that we're launching today, there are 3 talks, so they're designed to be half an hour, work in a half an hour lunchtime slot. And there's effectively a 7 to 8 minute video, and then 3 very open questions that aren't sort of threatening. And you could work through those in small groups, round tables, and then you could come back again the next week and do the next module, and the next week and do the final one. But then obviously it would suit be suitable for other people in the workplace to do a fourth week. So, for example, the Muslim network in your office may think, oh, it was helpful to hear about Christianity in a way that wasn't kind of challenging me specifically, but just explaining things. Maybe we could do a week on explaining some aspects of Islam that are widely misunderstood in the office and that we feel that we have to defend when we shouldn't have to, or explain when we shouldn't have to, really, or think people assume that will be a problem for us. So you could make it longer in an interfaith direction like that, or perhaps if there were people who showed a real interest in Christianity, you could invite them to a follow-up course, which might be something like a Christianity Explored course, which you might do outside of work or on another lunchtime for people that were interested.
Great. So this is a real great resource for HR departments. So we bring in a Christian perspective to help people understand Christianity and understand why Jesus came. The gospel is in amongst this, but it's also an opportunity for people of other faiths to join this and tell us about their faith. But it is a wonderful opportunity for Christians to get involved. Would you agree?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I've presented the material a few times.
Right.
Not quite in the format you're going to see today, but in the form of a talk, just to sort of see how it went down. We had lots of people really interested in it, even particularly people from other faith backgrounds. I had a Jewish colleague who did a response to one of my talks, which was really fascinating as an Orthodox Jew. The talk that we're going to see in a minute, he gave a Jewish response as to, well, what does faith and belief mean in the Jewish tradition, and going back to the Hebrew, and what does the Hebrew word for that, and what does it mean in practice for a Jew? I've had Muslim colleagues say it was a really fascinating insight into Christianity, and the best one they've heard since they've been in work. So people getting really interested in it, and it's designed so that it doesn't, when we're explaining things, it's not having a kind of cheeky slap at people as we go by. It's designed so that everyone can see where they fit in. So even if you don't have any religion at all, hopefully you can see how you fit into the same framework. So we're trying to show how Christians form their views in the same way as maybe you do, but they just do it they put things together slightly differently, but they have the same basic building blocks, but maybe lean slightly differently across them. You'll have to look at the material to see, but it's designed so that everyone can see where they fit within it.
Okay, wonderful. Right, well, we're going to have a little look at one of the courses. So this isn't the introduction. This is going to be session 1, which is just 6 minutes. So we are going to watch this together, the people in the room and also the people who are online. Do you want to say a little bit about this?
Yeah, it'd be great to see what your reactions are. So this is week 1. This would tee up the whole thing. And then the following 2 weeks are specifically about Christianity, but this one's more general.
So welcome to session 1. And in this session, we're going to be looking at some of the meanings of the terms like faith and belief. What do they mean? And how can that help us to become more faith literate? You'll see that we're also going to be covering issues like what does religion mean, and what is the definition of faith? Is faith belief without evidence? So initially, let's start with what does belief mean? So a belief could be understood to mean a conviction that you hold that something is true or that it exists. So for example, that God exists, or that humans are responsible for the majority of climate change, or perhaps that differences between men and women are mainly socially constructed. Now this might be on the basis of your direct experience, or as a result of putting your trust in what you're told by someone. It could be the result of an experiment, a theory, or a worldview. Now, of course, many beliefs are true beliefs. You might not always have 100% proof that your belief is true. For example, the belief that there are multiple universes. And of course, proving that God exists is also tricky. Now, the right to hold or express certain beliefs is protected in law, including many religious beliefs, and this is also the case for some wider philosophical beliefs. So now looking at what the term faith means. So faith could be understood to mean putting your trust in someone or something, when there's something meaningful at stake. This might be a religious belief, like belief in God, but it need not be. For example, you might exercise faith by putting your trust in the parachute instructor when you jump out of the plane. Or you might put your trust in your oncologist when you take some toxic cancer drugs. You might put your trust in your colleagues not to steal from your bag when you go to the toilet. Now, you may have heard people claim that faith is belief without evidence. Usually faith will be sustained on the basis of some type of evidence, even if that's not scientific evidence. So, for example, your experience of or trust in a person or of people in general. You can also have philosophical, logical or mathematical proofs of things being true. And of course, in a court of law, we are happy to rely on eyewitness evidence and testimony. Or you may have trust in someone on the basis of the qualifications that someone possesses. So the claim that the only valid form of evidence is scientific evidence is therefore not a universal truth, but rather a belief among some people that the only reliable method to establish the truth is scientific evidence. Now, just as in other areas of human life, religious beliefs may go beyond what we have 100% evidence for, and that is where we're choosing to exercise faith. So by exercising a leap of faith, we cover the gap between the evidence that we have and the belief that we hold. So what was my experience? Well, I became a Christian at the age of 28, and that was after having looked into the historical evidence and the philosophical arguments for belief in God and the resurrection of Jesus, and having read the Bible for myself rather than having faith in other people's opinions of it. Previously, I'd rejected Christianity on the basis of what other people had told me, but I'd never actually looked into it for myself. Now, if I ever have doubts about some aspect of my faith, I return to the evidence that I have in order to sustain my wider belief system in the face of a doubt about a particular aspect of it. So I may have a doubt in a particular aspect of Christian belief, but then I still know all the other things that I believe to be true, and those sustain my belief while I wrestle with that particular issue. So therefore I consider that my own faith in God is belief on the basis of evidence. Of course I don't have 100% proof, but overall I think it's the best explanation of a range of issues like the existence of life and the universe, the applicability of mathematics and various other things. So what about the meaning of religion, just to complete the three? Religion could be thought of as a recognized system of beliefs or practices that relate to the worship of God or gods, or an equivalent philosophy or morality for life, for example, Buddhism. So often this will involve particular scriptural teachings or revealed truths. Now, Emile Durkheim, the academic, states that religious beliefs and practices relate to sacred things, which is to say things that are set apart or things that are forbidden, and they unite members within a social community and provide an obligation to live within its rules. Now, many Christians will consider that they have a faith and not a religion, and this is on the basis that they do not have to do anything to make them right with God. They simply have to believe and trust in Jesus' work. Nevertheless, they will still follow certain religious practices and hold certain religious beliefs in common with other members of their religious community. So that's the end of the material. Here's a few questions you might want to discuss in groups. Firstly, do you agree with the definitions of faith and belief in this talk? Secondly, how do you form your beliefs, whether religious or otherwise? And thirdly, what sorts of evidence would you consider to be valid in informing your beliefs?
Well, there you go. You've had a sneak preview. That's week 1. you'll see there the questions at the end are designed to be very unthreatening, allow people to disagree with what I said, and don't kind of force you to kind of take a position if you don't want to, but hopefully they're good open questions. And so we're modeling the sort of open questions that are good in terms of interfaith dialogue, not forcing people into a corner, but giving them opportunities to answer the question how they want to. Now, if you notice, the first talk that we've just seen is addressing this kind of underlying presupposition that Christians are mad. You'll see that the week 2 and 3 deal with the view that Christians are bad. So sometimes they think that we're mad, sometimes they think that we're bad. This is the kind of common misconception, if you like. So this talk is particularly addressing the are Christians mad claim, but in a way which is actually educating people. So by mad, what I mean is you just believe in complete nonsense. There's no evidence for it at all. You may as well believe in the tooth fairy. So that's what I mean by Christians are mad. So it's addressing that issue specifically, which can sit behind people's presuppositions and what lies behind the things that they say to you or about Christians in your earshot. Because they might not know you're a Christian, but they might be, happy to just audibly sort of proclaim how daft and silly Christians are in the workplace, which is obviously not very, doesn't make you feel very included, but it comes off of this sort of starting point of not understanding that there is any good basis for belief in the first place, because they just don't know enough about it. They still might not agree, but hopefully they can see that there is some basis for religion.
Okay. So there is an ask of you who are online. What is that, Joe? What do we want these guys to do?
We'd really love you to, if you like the material, hopefully you agree it won't get you in trouble. It hasn't got me in trouble yet. So we'd really love some people to just commit to try it with maybe a group of 6 or 12 colleagues. You could run it in the Christian network first to check everyone's okay with it, but really it's designed for people that are not Christians, because they're the ones who need to be more literate about Christianity. So it would be great to offer it to just a normal group of your work colleagues, possibly as part of a broader push to improve faith literacy in your workplace. So that would be a safe way of branding it. And the material has been written to be non-contentious, factual, and not get you in trouble. So we just love you to try it, to see how it works. Do the table discussions work? Are there anything that they don't understand? So if need be, we can tweak it a bit, but we just love to see if it works in practice.
Great. So how do you get this material? Well, go to Transform Work UK's website, so it's transformworkuk.org, and then go to Equip, drop down Faith Literacy, and there you'll see Joe, 4 videos, and at the top you can download the course material. It's all free. We love to give away to you guys, but if you love what we do, hit that donate button and give to us. We are always, we have a faith in God and God provides, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Yeah, we've got leaders notes, we've got slide packs, so you could run it yourself if you don't like my tone of voice. We've got the videos, so it's all there for you to use. You can prepare it how you want. You can change the questions at the end. Yeah.